Hillary Clinton bashing President Trump in a commencement address at her alma mater, Wesley College, on Friday. The former Democratic presidential candidate not pulling any punches some 6 months after her election loss. Listen.
We were furious about the past presidential election of a man whose presidency would eventually end in disgrace with his impeachment for obstruction of justice. After firing the person running the investigation into him at the Department of Justice.
Those remarks happening at Wellesley. Joining me is journalist and radio talk show host Jamila Bey and Fox News contributor Rachel Campos Duffy. All right, ladies, welcome to you. I am very anxious to hear your reaction to all of this. I'll start with you, Jamila. Many have described this speech as particularly aggressive for Clinton. The Washington Post even described it as remarkably aggressive anti-Trump. What'd you make of it?
I thought Hillary Clinton gave a rousing speech to her base. She came home to her alma mater, and these are young women who are going to be the captains of industry soon. They're going to be the ones who are running for and winning office all over the country. We saw them descend on Washington with their little pink hats on and decide to make it known, we women who are graduating, congrats to you grads, are going to make a difference in this world. And Hillary Clinton drew a parallel to this moment in time, to the moment in time where she herself was a young graduate with the world before her. I think aggressive is, I wouldn't use that word at all. I think, you know, powerful and certainly energetic is the word that I would use to describe that speech. Go grads.
All right, Rachel, I've had you on the program before. I have a feeling I know what you thought about it, but I do want to ask you what you thought about, you know, let's start with just the soundbite that we played of Hillary Clinton bringing up a time in our nation's past when she says they were furious about a presidential election of a man whose presidency would eventually end in disgrace. Overall, what'd you make of the speech?
Well, first of all, energized is not what I would see. She started this, what I would say, she started the speech actually with a coughing fit that required them to bring her water and a lozenge. So quite the juxtaposition to how strong our president looked this week traveling, you know, all the way to the Middle East and Europe when she just hopped over to Massachusetts, one state over, after resting and drinking Chardonnay and cleaning her closets like she talked about in her speech. You would presume she'd be in better shape. That said, she sounds resentful. She sounds stuck. She sounds like she's ready for revenge, which I think is a perfect analogy for where the Democratic Party is. They are not being introspective. They're not asking the questions they need to be asking about why they lost an election that really they should have won. Why did they lose all these working class voters in the Rust Belt? Why did so many Democrats change their ticket and take a chance on a guy with no political experience? And I think that's a problem not just for Hillary, but also for the party. I think that's very emblematic of where they're at, and I think why they might lose again.
Well, Jamila, Clinton also asked the graduates to consider when people in power, she says, invent their own facts and attack those who question them, saying that it marks the beginning of the end of a free society. That was in her speech, obviously another stab at the president. You think that was fair?
Absolutely. Let's be real. We live in a time right now where we're seeing the playbook that everybody who's ever read Orwell understands well. You repeat something over and over until it becomes a fact. Look, you can love Trump, you can hate Trump, but what you cannot do is invent your own alternate reality. How many people show up at an event is a measurable metric that can be seen, examined, and proven. You cannot say one thing, have it disproven, and then go, oh, well, that's just our alternative fact. That's an alternative reality. Saying such a thing on a campus was a brilliant move on her part, rather. Facts matter. Facts are important.
Well,
and when you
she
have
also
a president,
said, Rachel, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, she said, a free and open debate is the lifeblood of democracy. How ironic that she would say this on one of these politically correct campuses. She also said, she talked about people denying science, denying things we see with our own eyes. Of course, she was talking about Trump's inauguration speech, but a lot of us pro-lifers who fought against her election wonder if she would take her own advice and look at an ultrasound. Look, this speech was full of anger, but also it was full of disdain for the people who voted for Donald Trump. She's not even interested in listening and just for a second figuring out why they didn't want her, what was missing in her campaign message.
We got to leave it there, Jamila. Last word, real quick.
That wasn't the speech to give at her alma mater of Wellesley. These women are fired up. They are not are not the Trump supporters. They are the ones who wanted Clinton in office, and they are going to take up the mantle and win an election themselves someday.
Ladies, I'm sorry, I got to leave it there. We're up against a break. Jamila and Rachel, thank you so much for being here.